I do. How are you? I'm in Wensleydale, home of the famous cheese, of course. And I've travelled across the beautiful Yorkshire Dales, and I'm going to a very pleasant and historic town. Mary Queen of Scots once went through it, and it's called Leyburn. And the name means a stream by a clearing. And inevitably, in the middle of all this history and beauty, there's a cinema. Can you give me a little bit of history about the place, Jude? I mean, was it always called the Elite? And, you know, when was it built as a cinema?
It was built about 1930 as the Elite Cinema, and we've kept the same typeface and everything. The Art Deco style typeface was what was originally used in all the paperwork. And it closed in the early 60s. It was owned by the same family who had other cinemas around the Dale from the 1930s onwards.
Now, Jude, can I ask you a little bit about your own background? You've been running this cinema successfully for about 5 years, but, I mean, where do you come from? I mean, have you always been a cinema fan who was like a cinema manager looking for a cinema to manage?
I studied drama at university and almost immediately found that, having discovered the world of cinema, that I was more of a film person. But I worked in the film industry briefly and worked in the theatrical costume business for many years. And it was only recently that we got the opportunity to actually acquire this cinema. It was been a labour of love, really. It was just available, so we bought it.
Now, as we drove in through this very beautiful countryside, I mean, obviously there's dales, there's greenery and there's sheep, but I'm wondering, what is your catchment area for this cinema?
It's a very large catchment area, and people come from the villages. They also come from Richmond and Northallerton, even from Ripon and places as far away as that. But the outlying villages also provide a large proportion of our audience, as well as the residents of Leyburn. But it depends largely on the film, because we show a wide range of films here.
Now, here you are in the middle of the Dales with this cinema, a sort of oasis, I suppose, for cinema goers. Anybody who wants to see one in this area has got to come here. What is your programming policy?
Apart from trying to keep going and remaining in business, which is the main preoccupation, obviously. It's just trying to find films that we know that people will enjoy. The ideal Leyburn film is a British film. Ideally a costume drama of a very high quality. Also comedies. People like a good laugh around here, and I don't blame them. There are not enough good comedies around.
Now, you've got, running just before the show, half an hour, three-quarters of an hour, the kind of little coffee bar or wine bar downstairs. Don't people just pop into the pub beforehand? I mean, do they prefer to come here?
Most people do, yes. If they want to have a drink, they'll have a drink in our bar, because although the bar's only open for three-quarters of an hour in the evening, if we have a popular film on, we have all kinds of people meeting up with each other and groups bumping into each other, and it's very nice, is that. It also means that they can grab a seat in the cinema before they have their drink.
What do you mean, how do they grab it?
Well, they leave something on the seat, like a coat or a jacket or a scarf or something, which means that that's where they're going to sit, and so they can have a drink in peace and then come up near the start time of the film.
Back in the 1930s, 1940s, the Elite wasn't unique. It was part of a small chain of cinemas. And this little bar was, in fact, then an electricity goods showroom, because the chap who owned it used to supply electricity to the area before it was plugged into the national grid. Now, presumably you must have come, John, here in your younger days.
Oh, aye. Yeah, oh, yes, yeah.
But
bit of courting maybe as well on the back row, you know, things like that. But yes.
Did they have those double seats at the back?
Some cinemas had, some hadn't, of course. As I recall in here, I think these are the same seats as we had in the old days, you know, tilt seats, which was marvellous.
Now, but thinking about the Elite, where we are now in Leyburn, I gather that used to be part of a little chain, didn't it?
It was, yeah, of course. You see, in those days, you had two cinemas in Leyburn, and where the garage is on the junction for Midland, that's where the other cinema was. But also, of course, you got one in Midland, which is just down the road. Bedale and Hawes, there were cinemas in all these small market towns, which was lovely, you know.
What actually happened to the other cinemas?
Well, you see, they've got alternative uses, you know. They use them for shopping precincts, like garage, and it's sad to see them. But ones like this one here, and of course Thirsk, for instance, they've come back into their own now, so it's nice to see that they're very popular again, you know.
Do you still come in, though, and watch films here at the Elite?
Oh, yes, at least once, maybe twice a month. It's a lovely little compact cinema, and it hasn't altered over the years. You know, really, it's the same as it was as I remember it all them years ago in my youth as a young lad, you know.
Is it open downstairs? Yes, it is. Hello, sorry. It's well worth seeing. It's really fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do we have to reserve seats?
You can if you wish, yes.
Put the umbrella on the seat.
He's gone to book his seat with his coat.
All right.
Thank you.
Don't
Lovely.
miss it.
Thanks very much.
Now, I think this'll do for me. It'll be about right near the screen. How about this one? Now, I want to go and have a quick drink in the wine bar. I don't want to come back and find it's taken. Better put something on it. Of course, I bet they get some German visitors to the Dales every so often. Tell you what, I'll put my towel on it. That should do it. Well, I don't know about you, but before I go in and see a film, I don't mind just a little something. And of course, at this cinema, you can get it. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just interrupt you for a few seconds? Because I've never been here before, and it's amazing cinema to find right in the middle of all this Dales country rolling away, and yet it's showing, you know, interesting new films, French films, all sorts of things. But I'm wondering, do you come here fairly regularly?
Oh, when there's a decent film showing, which is usually pretty often,
Yeah,
isn't
most
it?
weeks they've run.
I thought when I saw the cinema and it was called the Elite, is there a slight edge of elitism here? It's not the sort of cinema that just attracts kids on motorbikes.
We get everybody coming to see films here, all sorts of people.
We have a wide catchment area.
Absolutely,
Mm.
young and old.
We have Wensleydale, Coverdale, Swaledale. People come from miles around, don't they?
We may have to wait a little while to see the big blockbusters, but they're worth waiting for when you can come here, so it's nice.
It's very nice. Sorry to leave you, because we're all going in a minute, but I'll go along and just have a quick word. Excuse me, can I just interrupt you for a second, because I've not been to the cinema before, and I don't know who comes. I mean, for instance, do you live in the village?
I used to live locally, but now I live in Harrogate, but I like to travel back here.
Well, haven't you got, like, multi-screen cinemas, modern cinemas, in big towns nearer to Harrogate, where you live?
I much prefer coming here because it's more intimate than going to somewhere like York and where it's more commercial.
It's a good place to come on your own. I don't always come with Becky or another friend. I live on my own, and there's something very, very isolating and lonely about going into a multi-screen complex on your own, and all you can get is horrible popcorn and not nice ice cream. You can get proper Wensleydale ice cream in this cinema, which is much better than the ice cream that they serve in multi-screen complexes.
I have to say, Daddy, because you look like a family all sat around the table. Like you are a family.
That's right, yeah.
Do you live locally?
Yeah, we live 7 miles away.
Which in Dale's terms is quite close.
That's quite local, yeah.
Well, let's have just a quick word with Mummy. Do you come as a family quite a lot to this cinema?
Well, we did start a list of our films, and we've reached 161 now, between us all, yes.
Do you think that having a little cinema in a town like this is a big advantage to this town?
Oh, very big advantage. It's one of the best things that ever happened in Leyburn. I mean, it's a very big part of our social lives now. And our children never know anything else. You know, it's the only cinema we've ever brought them to is this one.
Presumably you started watching the screen before it was all on television, didn't you?
Oh, I came to Leyburn in 1950.
So it was still a cinema in its original form?
It was, yes.
Did you come with him in those days?
All did, yes. And we all tried to get to the back seats, or the double seats. So
Oh, the doubles, because they don't
double
have
seats
them.
just through the door.
So all the courting couples would come, dive into, and then you hadn't got the arm in between you could go cuddly puddly. Well, that's it then, the Elite Cinema Leyburn, nestling in the Yorkshire Dales. And how nice to find a cinema where they've got a bar downstairs, and before you see the film you can pop down and get a coffee or a soft drink, or a chilled dry white wine, or a gin and tonic, or a small octuple vodka. with perhaps a large brandy poured into it. You hang on here for 5 minutes, will you? I think I've left my coat downstairs. I shan't be long.